you may have watched my getting started with miniatures video and may even have bagged yourself some awesome miniatures to use in your TTRPG sessions. But what do you put those miniatures on? And what terrain, if any, is good to start with? Well, whether you're buying, printing or crafting, I'm going to be sharing with you what maps I use and which 5 types of terrain I use the most in my D&D games. I'll also share with you some tips and tricks to get the most from your setups and maps. So if you're here just for the terrain, you can skip ahead to the time shown on screen right now. The maps I use are the same maps I've used for the past couple of years, when I first made the transition from Theatre of the Mind gameplay to minis. I began with Loki battle mats and their dungeon book set. Now, just to be clear, I'm not sponsored by either Loki or any of the companies I mentioned in the video, and all products were purchased by myself with my very own gold coins. The map book set comprised of 2 books that contained dungeon themed battle maps on each page, with each page being 1 foot square with a 1-inch grid overlay. The books could be opened up and laid next to each other to create a 2 foot square map. Now, I initially purchased these with the intent to use them like Professor Dungeon Master's Ultimate Dungeon Terrain, placing the book on a cheap Lazy Susan and using a zoned combat approach. As I began my descent into miniatures and terrain addiction, I began to open up the books, using them together to make slightly bigger maps with bigger setups, which at this point I was pretty sure I was going to need to purchase different types of maps. However, I saw Loki had released a wilderness pack, and I purchased those, giving me the option to expand to bigger layouts when needed, and also allowing me to revert back to the initial 1-page Ultimate Dungeon Terrain system anytime gaming space became an issue at all. And honestly, these are the maps I'm still using right now. I don't have any plans to change, but I will pick up more of the Loki battle mats range. And for now, everything seems to be working perfectly for me, whether I have a large game or a small game. I highly recommend Loki, as it's a map system you can add to, making it modular. Our hobby can be expensive, so anytime we can upgrade something without making what we already own useless, then that is a huge bonus. But let me know in the comments below what you think, and what battle maps or mats do you prefer using. Let's talk terrain. Now I'm going to share with you 5 types of terrain I use most often in my setups. Now, this will of course vary on what kind of setting your campaign is going to happen in, but hopefully this will give you some idea of terrain that you may want to purchase, print and paint, or even scratch build for yourself. Number 1. Barrels and crates and loot can all be found in any adventure, both indoors, outdoors, subterranean dungeons, and even on pirate ships. For the most part, these are interchangeable, as a crate, a barrel, and even a treasure chest are just simple containers. I have here a small treasure chest, a couple of barrels, and a pile of junk or loot. And these I use a ton. Scattering a couple of them on your map makes the map more 3-dimensional, adds cover, areas of interest, and things for the party to search and find. That could be either loot or that mysterious item that drives the story onward to the next quest. Number 2. Trees and tree trunks. Obviously not as useful for the indoor adventurer or dungeon crawl, however outside trees are everywhere. I have here a set of trees from Monster Fight Club, who I highly recommend. Treetops are removable and can be used as bushes to hide ambushing goblins or bandits in, and you can even pop a mini or 2 in the trees themselves. Now, a slightly cheaper option to go for is the fallen logs. I have some here I picked up from Poundland, and that's our UK version of your American dollar stores. These were in the fairy garden furniture section and make for great fallen trees for cover, or you can also stand them up to simulate full-grown trees. Either way, a few trees can add realism to your fantasy world, as well as cover and verticality. Number 3. Rocks and ruins, or ruins, are indeed 2 different things. However, I feel having one or the other can do exactly the same job. It adds structural cover, elevation, and tactical combat features such as surprise attacks, I have here a ruined cottage from the battlefield in a box range of terrain, and this could easily be replaced with a set of rocks. I do like the modularity of having separate pieces, using as little or as much of it as needed. This set could also be used to mark out the walls of a building too. Visit to the tavern, anyone? Number 4. Docks and walkways. Now this is the next one, and I purchased the Spelunker's dock set from WizKids, and I got it at a heavy discount. I didn't expect to be using it as much as I have, but I found the walkways are a great combination with the trees to add elevated attack positions from treetop to treetop, likewise with a ruined cottage or the rocks if you choose those. Combining terrain is a great way to get more use and value from your purchases, and not forgetting these are great anytime the adventure goes near the sea, of course. Which leads us to number 5, boats or carts. Or both are probably not one of the things you'd expect on a list of most used terrain, but I use both boats and carts all the time. Now this will of course depend on the location of your adventure, but every farmer, peasant, merchant is going to have use for a horse and a cart, and likewise small boats are just as popular. I have the rowboat from the Spelunker's dock set that I mentioned before, and that also includes 2 makeshift rafts that I do get a lot of use from, and they make great bridges. I also have a horse and cart, and these were from the WizKids Encounter set, and that set also came with 2 fallen tree logs, so something to bear in mind, not to mention a couple of cool pack mules. Definitely worth picking up for the price. So that's my most used scatter terrain. Of course, no terrain is necessary or needed to enjoy your D&D or TTRPGs. However, I use it because I believe it adds something to my games, whether that's gameplay advantages such as elevation, cover, hiding spots, or even something for the ogre to pick up and throw. There's also aesthetic advantages because this stuff does look cool, and frankly makes immersion and imagining the scene much easier to do for me. I hope this video was of some use to you guys, particularly those that were asking me what terrain I use. I do get asked a lot, what terrain should I start with and what I use the most in my sessions, and hopefully this video has answered that question for you all. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you next time.